Well, good morning, everybody. If you are just joining us here at the circuit, welcome along to the live stream as well. If you are joining us on MSVT Racing, the first race of the day about to get underway. This is for the Miata Trophy. We can run you through the way in which they will line up. Obviously, we've already seen the qualifying session and the Super Pole session to decide exactly the starting order for the first of two races we will see here at Brands Hatch. On pole position, car number 5, John Langridge, ahead of car number 42, Callie Atkins, 5 and 42 on row 1. It's then Will Morris and Alex Miller on row 2, 17 and 7, followed by Declan Lee and Nicholas Stott on row 3, 1 and 4. John Robinson has got David Chapman for company on row number 4, that being 2 and 14. Ahead of Dylan Stepney and Drew Fletcher, 33 and 26. Then it's Paul O'Neill and Michael Nibbs on row 6, 29 and 82, followed by Jack Hargraves and Ethan Lundy. Row 8 is Simon Fleet and Ian Abel. Then it's going to be Raymond Worley and Jude Worley on row number 9. And on her own, on row 10, it's Jasmine Sherrington. 2 rows back, we get the Class ND and guest class drivers. On pole position there, it's Kevin Sylvain ahead of Luke Herbert. Then it's Brian Chandler and Carl Garnett. Row 15 is David Newick and Jay Coombs, followed by Ben Taylor and Darren Godfrey. Row 17 is Andrew Jones and Paul Hennin. And on her own, on row number 18, it's Laura O'Connell. A big old grid, 35 positions have been taken up on the grid. Of course, we've got the two grid slots, or the 2-row gap, of course, as well. So it works its way to around about 30 cars, I think we'll have in the Miata Trophy. Qualifying this morning, if it was anything to go by, Chris Dawes, it's going to be an interesting race, isn't it?
Without question. I mean, it's back and forth, and they've probably not got their eye in yet, have they? Because it's very slippery conditions here. The worst case scenario, it's not heavy rain, although we did have some rain earlier, and it's just been seriously greasy. We've been watching them. Probably the hottest spot has been the end of the Cooper Straight into the left-hander Surtees, really dancing on ice. Some of them down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend have looked very on the edge of out of control as well. So it's going to be interesting. And I don't think we've seen the best out of anybody yet, because they were out first and third session on the track.
They were, and I've just spotted Declan Lee. Obviously, he's going for the championship here. John Langridge, pole sitter, the current points leader, but Declan Lee, reigning champion, he's looking over and chatting away with Nicholas Stott, clearly deciding what they're going to do by the time they arrive at turn 1.
Yeah, I'm sure they're nice words. That's fine. They're ready to do this. Green flag has now waved at the back. It's going to be a 20-minute race. Could we have the championship decided here and now? John Langridge could do it. Red lights are on. The engine notes are rising. Off go the lights and off go the field. And it's John Langridge gets a cracking start there. Callie Atkins, 42, is being swallowed up there, and they're all having to just go either side of the car that's just struggling to get up to speed. Paul O'Neill, I think that is, has just gone herring through. He didn't have a qualifying he wanted there in the early stages, so that was a very busy start. It
really, really was, and somehow Callie Atkins managed to go 4 wide into turn 1 with everybody else. Paul O'Neill's gone very, very deep on the brakes, so that now leaves the top 2 running around on their own at the moment, but Declan Lee is immediately on the tail, so John Langridge leads the way with a bit of a wobble on the exit, as Will Morris is now trying to draw himself level and alongside as they work their way along the Cooper Straight. Will Morris with the inside dabs the brakes, piles out of that position, so John Langridge leads the way from a slightly slidey Will Morris. Declan Lee is immediately trying to pile on the pressure, but that's a very, very busy section of circuit, but Callie Atkins' start, not what he would have wanted.
No, and I'd imagine that frustration would have grown as more and more cars were getting past, but looked like already starting to make up some of the times. But I thought that John Langridge had got such a belter of a start, he was going to pull away, but he's not, because 17 Will Morris looking towards the outside as they go towards Paddock Hill Bend, still there, or squirreling under the brakes there, desperately trying to wrestle that back under control, and he's now going to have to tuck back in, but that's not the cutback, or is it? Yes, it is. He's looking towards the inside, up towards the Druids hairpin they go, and Will Morris has got that done, and up the inside trying to follow through as well is the number 1 car of Declan Lee. Needs to get ahead on. Is a bit of a fist wave there, I think, as well from John Langridge.
Yeah, so Declan Lee dived to the inside. There was a bit of contact between the pair of them. Declan drawing upon all of his drifting experience after going sideways, and Nicholas Stott spins through 360 degrees after a bit of contact with another one of the cars. Didn't pick out exactly who it was. That was one of the Misty Racing entrants by the looks of it. John Robinson managed to make contact contact, and unfortunately Nicholas Stott, that car is going to be heading in towards retirement with suspension damage by the look of that, struggling to try and get it through the grass. Will Morris will have been wanting to get through and past John Langridge to help his Hills Motorsport teammate Declan Lee, but in doing that and leaving the two behind to battle, he's disappeared into the lead.
He has. This is what I thought John Langridge was going to do with the level of his start, but yeah, that didn't come off at all. Interesting to see, we've got windscreen wipers going. I'm looking around, there's no umbrellas up from the crowd here, so I think that just must be still a bit of spray off of the surface. They're going to come down the hill and along Cooper Straight to yellow flags waving because the number 4 car has not managed to make it into the pit lane and has just pulled off the circuit at the end there, so they need to be mindful of that. So it is the 17 car in the lead. We've got a great battle there for 26 trying to jump on John Robinson. Remember, that car had a moment earlier, but Drew Fletcher manages to get past, and that is for a position up into 10th place now for Drew Fletcher. And here we are into that yellow flag zone. We've got someone putting a hand up in the air. It's only localised, but they were almost acting as though that was a safety car, but I think they're just making sure that the others are aware to slow up.
Yeah, Nicholas Stott very animated as he jumped out of that car. John Langridge, he's starting to pull away from Declan Lee. That's leaving Declan Lee vulnerable to the slow starting Callie Atkins, who's doing a brilliant job of getting back through the order. I don't know what he's done in the weeks between Alton Park and now, but Callie Atkins, he's just going from strength to strength and getting quicker and quicker. So the yellow flags remain out at the end of the Cooper Straight, where Nicholas Stott's car is still sat stationary. Will Morris has forgotten about it all and is trying to drive away from John Langridge in the lead of the race. Declan Lee still under big pressure from Callie Atkins, who follows him in towards Graham Hill Bend, absolutely nose to tail. And I think that was quite a happy emotion there from Brian Chandler. Was he celebrating how sideways he got? What was that?
I don't know. I mean, it looked like quite a hand signal, that one, didn't it? Quite a celebratory one. We're looking there at Declan Lee in, as you say, falling away from John Langridge there. The number 5 car sat second at the moment, leading the championship on 569 to Declan Lee's 510. So at the moment, this is still looking good for John Langridge, but Will Morris, number 17, has already pulled clearly away from the rest of the field. What's the margin? 1.365, but new fastest lap of the race goes to the number 1 car of Declan Lee. So we were saying that Callie Atkins there in that 42 car that's recovered really well was looking fast, but in fairness, it is that number 1 that has the fastest lap of the race thus far.
Yeah, Declan Lee building relationships, a new sponsor for him, Pro Bike. They're potentially going to be supporting yet further into the future, but for the moment they'll be crossing their fingers hoping Declan Lee can remain in front of Callie Atkins, who's getting so close to getting into those provisional podium places, just can't quite get there. And the safety car has been deployed as Nicholas Stott's car
and another one
at the end of the Cooper Straight. Yes, and that is another
22 is off. That's O'Connell is we've just spotted coming out of Clearways into Clark Curve. Sort of between the two there, and that's only just off, you can see it there, just off the circuit. The problem we've had here is with the rain is that even those that are going into the gravel jack are stuck there, aren't they? Yeah. Quite easily, which quite often we see them managing to sort of dig themselves out. It doesn't seem possible today.
No, it doesn't, and normally, as you say, wet gravel you can sort of bounce over the top of, but today it's just not quite at that point, so they do dig their way in, and naturally the first thing you want to do when you're in the gravel is, if you've stopped in the gravel, is dig yourself out, but eventually you just dig yourself a hole and you do get stuck. So the safety car is going to be picking up Will Morris in a few moments time along the Cooper Straight, and now this effectively throws everything back the way of John Langridge, because he started on pole position, a brilliant start, fought hard with Will Morris. But that lead that Will had built up is going to dissipate to absolutely nothing. And Declan Lee, he's hoping for a better safety car restart to try and pull away from Callie Atkins and bring it to the top 2.
Another interesting one for me is that sat in 5th position, you can just see coming into the shot there behind these lead 4, that's Paul O'Neill, number 29, out guest driving this time. Well, I say guest driving, he scores points because he got a win and a second at Donington Park in June this year, and he did not have a good qualifying, and then it was cut a bit short, so he couldn't take advantage of any changes he'd made. Well, he's gone from, where did he start? 11th on the grid up to 5th position. And now he's right there with them because that margin was already there, wasn't it?
Yeah, and if you ask Alex Miller from Miller Motorsport, he will tell you that the win at Donington was purely fluke and nothing more. But clearly Paul O'Neill knows what he's doing.
Of course, they are racing together in the same team, aren't they, this weekend?
Of course they are. So clearly he knows what he's doing and is starting his weekend, I'm sure, as he means to go on. He started in 11th place and he's up to 5th. It's a very Callie Atkins-esque drive through the field, isn't it?
Yeah, it is impressive, and I always think that's a great skill to just put that disappointing start behind you. It's done, can't change it. Is what it is. Let's get there, and he did that really quick. Sat there in 4th place with the safety. Well, the safety car restart doesn't matter too much. The only one that has lost out is the leader, Will Morris, that got that big lead. But 2nd, 3rd, 4th were completely together anyway, weren't they?
They were, yeah, they were indeed. So John Langridge, we saw, who was nearly starting to edge away from Declan Lee, but Declan Lee was spurred on by Calais Atkins. Paul O'Neill, now you've said it, we're going to have to keep an eye on it, aren't we? Because he was closing marginally, but now he's there. That hard work he doesn't have to put in. He can focus purely on picking his way through and past Calais Atkins. You can't really rule him out for a podium here. So Nicholas Stott's car being lifted up onto the low loader, and I don't think we have seen Laura O'Connell's car return to the circuit. I've got a feeling that's just been pushed in towards the Parc Ferme area, but I guess after Marshall's assistance, can you carry on? It's one of those, or was it?
Depends how nice their officials are feeling.
Exactly. There, so we can see, yes, Laura O'Connell's car unfortunately being pushed in towards the Parc Ferme area. So once Nicholas Stott's car has been lifted up onto the trackside recovery flatbed unit and taken behind the Armco barrier, we will be able to get this race back underway. John Langridge, you can kind of tell here, he's trying to play mind games with Will Morris. He's all of a sudden really close, then really far away, the left mirror, the right mirror. I've got a feeling when we go back racing, it will be the same story. He'll be filling the mirrors, doing everything he can to get in ahead of race leader.
Because if you think about it, is the reason Morris had such a buffer at the front there was because that he was under immediate pressure from Declan Lee, with, we suspect, a little bit of contact up at Druid's hairpin, it looked to us, didn't it? That just put those two falling back away from Morris more than anything. And, you know, we're still into that unknown. I mean, you think Langridge's start was absolutely brilliant. He was away, but that margin disappeared instantly. So he's not going to get it his own way. The conditions are different to what they had in qualifying and improving, you would assume, out there as well. So we just don't know. And there's still 10.5 minutes of this 20-minute race left to go.
Yeah, but we will go racing this time. I'm just trying to figure out the points. I think where John Langridge is, that would be enough, because it's 47 for where he would be, 44 for Declan Lee, but that could still all change. There's no telling on how this race will go. It'll be very close indeed. But Will Morris has already put his foot to the floor and is getting this race back underway. John Langridge will be following in his wheel tracks towards the start-finish line. John Langridge has had a brilliant safety car restart, so too has Declan Lee. It's 3 for the lead at the moment. Calais Atkins not so quick on the uptake, neither was Paul O'Neill. So John Langridge to the outside of a slightly squirrely Will Morris on the brakes back in towards Paddock Hill Bend. And Declan Lee's going to follow them up the hill. There's no telling on what these three are going to do to try and sort out exactly what position on the podium they're potentially going to stand.
Oh, very defensive from Will Morris. He was about to take the normal racing line, but he could see that Langridge was taking a sneaky peek towards what would be the inside up at the right-hand hairpin at the top of the hill, and so he just closed that door. Declan Lee is ready to pounce as well, because that's compromised the two ahead of him. Neither of them able to take necessarily the fastest line through the hairpin, so Declan Lee is chomping at the bit. The three of them have at the moment pulled away, but already as I look out even the window, you can see that Calais Atkins is back with them again. So that's the second time we've seen that Atkins just fall away momentarily, but is able to just put himself right on the back of that lead three again.
He is indeed, but out of the final sector, or the final half of the circuit, John Langridge is well and truly the quicker of the three, because Will Morris really starting to feel the pressure. Declan Lee dropped away very slightly. Calais Atkins has a little look to the inside. Alex Miller to the outside of Paul O'Neill, but then there's a very sideways car in the background. Couldn't quite pick out exactly who that was really starting to encroach on those cars behind. Was that Michael Nibbs? Yes, it was. So Michael Nibbs is now applying pressure onto those two cars up the road. Paul O'Neill goes so deep on the brakes, and he's now going to draw level with Michael Nibbs on the exit. Alex Miller will be wondering how all of a sudden he's ended up at the back of that train. Michael Nibbs all the way around the outside of Paul O'Neill. You can't do that easily, especially at Grey Mill Bend.
No, that was incredible to watch there. You missed the tail end of that move coming down the hill between those three, but it was Nibs that made up one on Miller. Then they both made up the places on Paul O'Neill and switched back again. And I think that there's probably still a bit more fight that's going to happen in that one. A little bit of a gap at the moment, but you suspect it can go away. Lead cars are already about to come through and put 10 laps in the book. It is number 17, Morris, that leads from Langridge, from Declan Lee. Callie Atkins, number 42, back there on the back at the rear of them. And so, yes, up into 5th place there goes the 82 car of Nibs. That was a good lap, that one, for him.
Yeah, it really was. Will Morris, race leader, with the fastest lap of the race at 1 minute, 0.063. So just this side of 60 seconds. We're 3 wide going up the hill. Our car's gone very slightly wide of the exit curbing. We can't quite pick them up on the live stream camera. So not exactly sure how that one played out. They've all returned back to single file. What of the race leaders? Will Morris is somewhat safe from John Langridge. Declan Lee will still be feeling the fight of Callie Atkins just sat behind. And that mid-pack is absolutely where we need to be watching, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you've got the interest between the front four, and then there's the gap, and then it's sort of from 5th backwards. It is absolutely belting between them. Typical MX-5 racing. But here comes Will Morris, ready to put 11 laps in a book. He was the new fastest lap holder last time round. He went quicker, but even quicker goes John Langridge, the first driver to go sub 60 seconds out of these lots. So he is determined, and a lot of that, Jack, looks like it's because he's managed to shake off the immediate attention from the 3rd place car of Declan Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. So Paul O'Neill with an issue with his transponder. He'll be able to put up manually up through the order, so ignore what you're seeing on TSL for at least Paul O'Neill. But John Langridge absolutely flying. Declan Lee continuing to follow on in his wheel track. So too is Callie Atkins. Michael Nibs then the best of the rest, with Alex Miller, Paul O'Neill and the 33 machine in the hands of Dylan Stepney still giving chase. You're not going to miss Dylan Stepney, Sarah, in a hurry, are you?
No, absolutely. It does look really good, doesn't it, to be fair. The lead 4 are already making their way into Clark Curve. And it does look like they're going to be lapping cars fairly soon. You've misted up our commentary box now with you're trying to warm yourself up now, haven't you? But we have certainly Morris, Langridge, Lee and Atkins are going to be coming up to the first back marker as they go up the hill towards Druids. And they're not just yet, they're not going to get it that, so it's going to now possibly be both of the first 2 back markers when they come back down through the hill. Heading up towards Druids is this fight between Miller, number 7, trying to get back past Nibs in 82.
Yeah, a bit of traffic, however, that's going to play a part on this battle. That is the teammate of car number 26, Drew Fletcher at Hills Motorsport. Let's pick out exactly what happened. Did we see a change? No. John Langridge, however, now under big pressure from Declan Lee. Jude Worley, the next piece of traffic, just a little bit further up the road. John Langridge goes to the inside. Declan Lee decides that's the best way. And Declan goes to take the wider line, look for the cutback, just about finds a bit of room on the inside, but John Langridge can get on the power slightly earlier, and the car that we mentioned was playing havoc with the top 3 has spun through 180 degrees on the final corner, and Declan Lee, he was there or thereabouts on John Langridge. It just seems like that car doesn't get off the corner as quick as John.
Yeah, I mean, Will Morris has taken advantage of the back marker not really paying attention to the flags there and has gapped them all over again. I mean, he doesn't need to be invited twice, does he, to pull away from them, but he needed something to go for him because he was under monumental pressure. But now Langridge is the one that's under huge pressure in that 2nd position, and down they come towards Graham Hill Bend. Langridge still holding off Declan Lee. The only good news for Langridge, the driver that currently sits in the lead of this championship fight, with Declan Lee directly behind him, who sits 2nd in the championship fight, is that he's not able to just look forward because Callie Atkins is glued to the back of him.
Yeah, absolutely. So Callie Atkins will be looking to apply yet further pressure, make up for that poor start. But these two are teammates, Callie Atkins and Declan Lee, both from Hills Motorsport, and won't want to be the thorn in each other's side. But at the moment, I think Declan Lee is slightly conscious of that car behind. It was Jasmine Sherrington that got caught out in the slippery conditions. Now Alex Miller, having got in front of Michael Nibs. Michael is trying to fight back once again on the running towards turn 1. In the background, we've got Paul O'Neill and Dylan Stepney fighting away as well. Up the hill goes Alex Miller, still being chased by Michael Nibs. Paul O'Neill has got, as we said, Dylan Stepney still giving chase. So it seems like battles of 2s and 3s seem to work. As soon as we get to a big field of cars, they just start to disperse.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Make no apologies that I know that the cameras were watching that Miller fight through there, but we're picking up on this, that you now see the championship fight. It is these two, 5 and 1, that sit first and second in the championship fight, with this the penultimate race of the season. Obviously that final one a little bit later today, and it's all down to this one, is that I believe that Langridge is sort of like making it that he's almost sort of champion elect, but I don't know whether it's necessarily quite enough to make it absolutely done for just yet. Or coming across the line, by the way, this Miller and Nibs fight is side by side again, and 82 Nibs is about to go up the inside, but we've got the challenge for second place, and here it comes. Declan Leeds forced to with the outside, the number 1 car, and he's just having to cross his hands over there, which has unsettled him at Druids, which now means that Callie Atkins, 42, is trying to come back at him, but that will be the outside line there, so Declan Lee just fends that off.
Yeah, it was very, very close indeed. Very brave going to the outside. You could see, Callie Atkins and Declan Lee trying to communicate that they want to work together. We've still got Michael Nibs and Paul O'Neill fighting away, Michael Nibs and Alex Miller, pardon me. So over the line, Alex Miller was 17 one-thousandths of a second in front. Declan Lee's definitely quick at this stage of the race, with the fastest lap of the race going his way, a 58.899, the only driver to break into the 58-second barrier after the small mistake on the lap prior and the large correction that he had to make to keep the car pointing the right way. He's immediately back onto the coattails of John Langridge. Last time through a 59.707. He only lost 100th of a second with that mistake up at Druids, and now he's closing in once again on the brakes, diving to the inside, really starting to apply that pressure onto John Langridge. He's not going to make it easy. He is the reigning champion. John Langridge is trying to take that away from him, but Declan Lee's just letting him know there's going to be a fight either way.
It's absolutely amazing. We're now back into some more lappery going on, and we've seen how that ripped the fight apart a little bit earlier. We've had Taylor's come into the pits, number 12 as well now, with the bonnet up, so that car looks like it's out. And I'm still keeping half, and I know they're splitting either side of the back markers this time round. One of the back markers has then pushed out. I don't think they knew quite where to go, but it looked like Langridge on the tight line, completely unsettled, and he's dropped back behind Declan Lee. So Declan Lee up into second place in the number 1 car.
Yes.
Wow.
Somehow I saw Declan Lee go to the outside and thought that's not going to work. But then remembered these are slightly slippery conditions. It's still slightly greasy. He might find a bit of grip on the outside. Absolutely did. It's going to be touch and go whether we're going to squeeze in another lap. I think we just about might. Will Morris is now heading down the hill on the exit of Druids in towards Graham Hill Bend. But Declan Lee in his newly acquired second place will try and build somewhat of a margin between himself and John Langridge. Callie Atkins is still giving chase. In the background, Alex Miller and Paul O'Neill now fighting away. Michael Nibs has completely ran away from Alex Miller. Paul O'Neill sideways through Graham Hill Bend, really pushing on now to try and pick his way through and past Alex Miller. We've got 10 seconds left. Will Morris is just coming onto the start-finish straight now. It's going to be close, but I think we're just going to squeeze in another one. The checkered flag is ready. Is it going to be waved for Will Morris? Yes, it is. So Will Morris over the line to take the first win of the day in the Miata Trophy. Declan Lee, after picking up the place on the penultimate lap of the race, crosses the line to finish in second place. John Langridge rounds out your podium, followed by Callie Atkins and Michael Nibs, who come towards the line. Alex Miller does fend off Paul O'Neill ahead of Dylan Stepney. Over the line in 7th place, I think, once Paul O'Neill gets shuffled up. Dylan Stepney in 8th place, then it's the number 50 machine, Luke Herbert, crossing the line in 9th place. And to round out your top 10, it was car number 26, Drew Fletcher. I'm going to go have a chat to some of the drivers. Yeah,
this is where it's going to get a little bit challenging for us on the stream, because what happens, we're still streaming to the same place, but we're now going to sort of like close off. At some point this stream will close off so that it's a separate one for the next race, which will be the Clio Cup GB, but hopefully we'll get a chance to do the podium. It all depends how quick they come down here, and of course you're taking our stream. We're up here doing the circuit commentary as well as the stream commentary at the same time, so it kind of fades out. What that race does mean is that this championship fight does go down to the final race of the weekend, and that will be our our final race of today, our penultimate piece of action, because we've got the Enduro KA qualifying at the end of today, and it means that Langridge has to go again, and I'm sure he's slightly frustrated that, but third place means he's still got to be comfortably sat there in the pound seats with the margin that's there. We may be wrong, and it may be sorted. There's too much of a mountain to make up, but number 17 there, Will Morris, absolutely delighted with that move, and as well he might be. He started back in third position on this grid, but he took that race brilliantly. Twice he managed to build up a really good margin as well, and it's no wonder, therefore, that he's incredibly happy with that race victory. 4.4 seconds, nearly 4.5 seconds was the margin by the time he crossed that line, and he got fastest lap on that last tour as well, 58.669. So here we go, the results from race number 1 for the Miata Trophy. Will Morris takes the victory ahead of Declan Lee. John Langridge in third position. Cully Atkins, good fight back in the 42 car, comes home in fourth place. Fifth is Michael Nibbs. Great fight with Miller and O'Neill for him, but he managed to take it and pull away. Alex Miller and Paul O'Neill 6th and 7th. The teammates having some great fights. The 33 car of Dylan Stepney in 8th. 9th is the first of the guest class cars, number 50, Luke Herbert. Great considering he started in 21st. Came home in 9th position. Just ahead of the 10th place, number 26, Drew Fletcher. I'm going to pause there because it sounds like, Jack, have you got drivers?
I do indeed, down here in the pit lane. So Will Morris joins me. Will, you nailed the start. You were then fighting with John Langridge. After that, it just all seemed to go your way.
Yeah, it was one of those races that just sort of fell into place. Car's been mega, so shout out to Hills Motorsport, that was great. Yeah, and it was just sort of managing the gap at that stage till the safety car came out. My heart sunk a bit. I was like, oh no. But it was a chance to try and do it again. But yeah, one of those really, really good races. Really happy.
And you seem to be gelling with a slightly slippery Brands Hatch quite well. We saw it in qualifying, we saw it in Super Pole. Race 1, you've proved it right. Race 2, feeling the same?
Yeah, well, normally these conditions, I tend to go in the gravel quite a bit, but I think I've worked out those gremlins now, and it's come together quite nicely. Really good.
Great stuff. We'll look forward to it. Congratulations. Well done, Will Morris. We've got Declan Lee coming over to join us. Declan, hard fought, well and truly. There was a bit of sort of rubbing shoulders with John Langridge, but it all seemed to come into place. Was that just reading the traffic correctly?
It's incredibly close racing, especially in these conditions. And John, I just couldn't catch him. He's really quick. We're all quick at the front. It was very, very close. And it was actually thanks to my teammate, who I don't think intentionally did. I hope he didn't do it intentionally, but actually put himself in a position where John was blocked. I was on his left, and I went round the outside and managed to get into second place. Will was down the road, very happy with second place, and overall, just thanks to everyone at Hills Motorsport, everyone in the box. I can see him waving at me, and just really, really happy with today.
And the plan for race 2?
Same again, try and go a little bit further up. I'd like a win today, a nice big trophy to take home, and party after.
Great stuff, look forward to it. Congrats, Declan. We'll try and grab John Langridge, who should be over here somewhere, but John Langridge seems to have disappeared, unfortunately. So, no, there he is. We've got John Langridge. John, Declan's not making it easy for you, is he?
No, I think it's done. On my spreadsheet, that's it. Third place was enough for me this morning. I just want to, before I say anything else, I want to get it in there. Hello to Heidi and Henry at home. I know you're watching. I'll see you soon. But yeah, I think I'll get my abacus out in a bit. But I'm pretty sure that it's done. I mean, the car today was fantastic, prepared by Terry and the guys at Miller Motorsport, and you know, having Cambridge FD here and Hardline as well here with us today to hopefully celebrate. But we'll get the spreadsheets out in a bit and find out.
So if that's it, congratulations on, we'll call it Provisional 2024 Championship at the moment. If that is the case, surely race 2 is just going out there and having a laugh, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great fun racing with these lads. You know, I think I could have had second in that race, but we caught up a bit of traffic at the end there, and Declan was very brave to go around the outside. So, you know, it's hard racing, but it's pretty clean and fair. We had a bit of contact at the top, but he let me go. So it's what Miata Trophy is all about.
Amazing. Congratulations. Best of luck for race 2. That's all the time we have down here for the Miata Trophy. In the meantime, Chris, you may have some news upstairs from what we've got coming up next.
Thanks very much for that, Jack. Well, that so far went smoother than we were worried about there. Normally, it's like herding cats with these drivers. But yeah, we got away with that one just about.